guys, it's Future Peter here. I'm not hiding or anything, just thought it'd be nice to hang out in the corner. I don't know, I might be here for a little while, but in the meantime, let me go back and watch the interview that I just...
Okay, so, for our first guest, I would like to introduce a very interesting person who I've become friends with over the last few years here in Amsterdam. He is an anthropologist and a postdoctoral researcher. Please welcome Salvatore Giusto.
Oh, ciao. Hi, everybody. Hi, to viewers.
Awesome. Pleasure. Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome, yeah. Yeah, I guess first off, if you could just explain a little bit to the people who you are and what you're up to.
Oh, yeah. Well, the question, but I'll try to be short. Like, I'm a scholar. I am, as you say, the social culture anthropologist. Been living in North America, actually, in Canada specifically, doing research about organized crime, Italian organized crime specifically, and specifically about this criminal organization called the Camorra, which is very much located in Napoli, southern Italy, in Naples. And the way they use media to further their own agenda. So that's pretty much the research I've been conducting over the last 10 years.
So like some sort of intersection of media and Mafia, Cosa Nostra? Or?
Yeah, so let's say that the Camorra specifically, but many mafias around the world, they tend to invest resources, indeed, a lot of resources in the ownership, direct or indirect ownership of media outlets, including television and radio stations, and also music production, concert agencies. In Napoli specifically, they even produce specifically local pop folk music genre, which are recognized by the audience as specifically close to that sort of culture. And I've been studying it both on the books, but also on the ground, on the field. By, for example, I spent 1 year and a half working as an entertainer and presenter and stand-up comedian as a Camorra sponsored local TV channel. I've been even working for a while as the driver of a Camorra sponsored local pop singer, and observing these people and their bizarre way of living, or not so bizarre maybe. I was taking notes of things going on, and I basically write, I hope, interesting things about that, and I publish academic articles. I've been teaching criminology in Canada for a while. And recently, and that's how we know each other, by the way, I've been moving to Amsterdam about 2 years ago, and now I'm continuing my research at the UBA. And now I'm specifically studying similar topic, like how the Camorra invest not only in analog media, but also in digital, I'm going to use a difficult term, mediascapes.
Sure.
So... yeah.
So this is not just a purely academic kind of thing. You actually interacted and have spent a lot of time with these people.
Yes, I do. Well, that's actually, it is an academic kind of thing, even though maybe not all the discipline involved this type of methodology. It's called ethnography, and is indeed the type of methods that social culture anthropologists use. Like in the 19th century, you may have memories of the British scholar dressing like colonial and going to some oceanic or African location to mix with the indigenous and studying their cultures and their habits. And of course, there is a pre-dark colonial legacy into that. But let's say that modern, contemporary anthropologists, they do similar things even within Western society, like in Italy, contemporary times. And mix with the local and establish with them social cultural bridging interconnection.
How did you gain the trust of the people that you were interacting with? Because I can imagine that there might have been some times where you were even like a little bit afraid for your safety, ever? Yeah,
yeah, you're not wrong about that. Well, that would be a different question, but I will say that. Well, that's a funny story. So, before I went to Napoli first time, by the way, I'm Italian, but I'm not from Napoli. So.
I couldn't tell you were Italian.
No, of course. but I do not come from that city, so you need to know people there. And so the first thing I did is studying a little bit of my sources and what I figure out. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. is that informal networking is so central within a local camorra or mafia culture, if you prefer.
Mhm.
And so I try to exploit that in the sense that I started by going to the market, like there was street market, there were these beautiful old ladies selling fish or spices, and I was starting befriending them. Maybe I will bring them coffee in the morning. And at some point I was like, oh, but do you know somebody who works on local television? And they knew that some of them were Camorra sponsored.
Yeah.
And they were like, how do you know? A friend of my cousin is a singer who goes on TV and he does this and that. Oh, but that's nice. Will you introduce him to me? And then this guy needed a car driver. And so I started I can do that for free, Like,
Did they ever make you feel, or did you ever feel, let's say, that they were almost trying to like get your goodwill and put you in their pocket, so to speak, or was
constantly.
yeah, yeah, they're like, we can manage how he's going to portray this. Yeah,
Difficult. It's a difficult thing to negotiate. You want to feel comfortable there, but you know already you cannot feel comfortable because indeed you live in a different culture. But I must say that most of these people are not, they're people indeed. They're not.
yes,
So then eventually talk with them like you talk with any other person, even though they may rely on violence against, they're mafia people.
sure.
So in a way, so you have to be careful, and they always try, like I cannot imagine, oh man, that's not funny story. They were starting, I don't know if that's politically incorrect to say or something, but they've been all the time trying to introduce to me some daughter or nephew or somebody because they wanted me to get married.
No,
Some of them, and openly proposing that because, oh, you're such cool. And that becomes so much consistent that at some point I have to fake that I was gay, even though I'm not. Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry, but I don't like women.
yeah,
And they were like, oh, no, that's okay. They respected that. It was not a big deal. But then they stopped. And but that's become a big difficult to sustain when at some point I started dating somebody. Yeah.
yeah.
And they could, but anyway, bisexual.
Now you said that you had some experience with like comedy and doing some stand up and like video work and stuff like that. Were they open to your comedic kind of things, or did they take everything super serious all the time?
No, they were open to that also because they were comedians themselves in many cases. I was telling you, through this guy I was working as a driver for, or volunteering if you prefer. I didn't get money for it, obviously. But I was able to get to know the owners of the TV stations where he was performing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I proposed them to perform for them as part of my research. I remember it was a crazy meeting where they had to explain what I wanted to do. And I was like, I'm an anthropologist, blah, blah, blah. And they, of course, have no idea what anthropology was. And so I was like, I'm trying to learn the culture of other peoples, do this and that. And like, oh, that sounds entertaining. Maybe you can be part of our show.
Wild.
And so when I proposed them to do video making, they already were working with me on TV shows. So they started to see me a little bit more of a colleague. I also have to say that me being part of the show has a profound scientific value in the sense that there is some sort of indirect politics through which these illegal TV producers, they may allow certain people, rather than others, to become local celebrities in this field of Camorra-sponsored entertainment.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And in so doing, they create a sort of Bollywood-like local celebrity star system.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to experience that because that is one of the way how crime collect consent from the locals.
Sure.
I can make you famous, or I can make you dream to become famous, or I can provide you with a celebrity crush or something. And the only way I had to figure it out in personal experiential term was to go on TV. And so I had 15 minutes of fame myself there.
Wow. Okay.
And so me trying to make videos become particularly credible in the eyes of locals because I was already going on TV. And they took me as a professional, even though I never played as a comedian before.
Okay. Wow.
All completely improvised.
Oh, way. That's not terrifying at all. Going, like, just going completely unprepared.
The terrifying people during my research, especially because if you go on TV, you become famous. I mean, relatively famous in the neighborhood, and therefore you are not an ideal target. Plus, I wasn't pissing off people. The real scary people most often be the police.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And there are a few episodes in which things get a bit ugly, not because of mafia people being violent to me or anything, but because, for example, the place where we were was surrounded by the police and they were looking for somebody, not for me, but I was with them. And that's always tricky because you never know how to deal with it. Like, if you escape, then you get in trouble with the people that are hosting you. If you remain there, then you may get in trouble with the police. And meanwhile, my university has already contacted the Canadian embassy in Napoli, because I was working for Canadian university at the time. Crazy. But nothing bad happened.
Nothing bad ever. Excellent. Okay, so now you live in Amsterdam, which has its own famous history of organized crime, if you will. What can you tell me, without endangering our lives, what can you tell me about that world?
I'll start by saying that I'm not a professional expert of Dutch organized crime. So what I'm saying is something I can say because I read books. So something that I can say as many other people.
Sure.
Given that, what I know is that obviously Amsterdam has a strong transnational commerce and financial vocation, and that goes also for its criminal organization. So Amsterdam has been the hub for several international cartels, most importantly Italian and Russian cartels historically, even though in recent time, of course, you have all the shenanigans going on with the macro mafia, which is a quite powerful newcomer, and quite powerful because it is a sort of, I say a sort of mafia because there is not one macro mafia. There are several gangs. And they somehow function in a way that is pretty original, because of almost the first time that you have a really Dutch mafia. Even though most people will pretend it's not Dutch, because it's composed by people of Moroccan origin. However, it's mostly composed by people who have been born for at least a couple generations in Amsterdam.
Very interesting.
So that would be like saying that African-American gangs are not American gangs.
Yeah.
And she is something that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And what I can say, but that is nothing particularly brilliant, I'm saying, is that there's been a mismanagement of the legalization of light drugs in the Netherlands. But that's something that every Dutch person knows. It's legal to buy or consume weed, but it's not legal to cultivate it. And that's happening in a context that built upon agreement on special immigration laws for Moroccan farmers, specifically coming from areas where ash got historically produced.
Yeah.
And the agreement was actually helpful for, well, of course, for the migrants, because they wanted better life and we're talking about starting from the 50s, 60s and up to the 70s. We're talking about people who, of course, wanted a better life in the Netherlands, but on the other hand, we talk about the Netherlands in the post-war, so the Netherlands is a country that needs to be rebuilt. I think in Rotterdam here. Locations. And these people constitute very cheap labor force. So that's not the big news that's happening in many other countries. However, when that sidelined the mismanagement of the legalization of drugs, which overall is a good idea if well managed, but it created a sort of space for big Moroccan players in the international drugs economy to move to the Netherlands, made them business evolve in capitalist financial terms, make the big money, to be simple, and reinvest in other criminal activities.
Interesting. I grew up as a Catholic, okay? And I've been
Nobody's perfect.
and I've always been interested in how organized crime, be it in Latin America or Italy, there's definitely a lot of Catholicism in there. And how do they ethically and morally justify that with what Jesus taught? Have you encountered that?
Yeah, constantly, because indeed Naples is a Catholic city, and I mean, I can make joke on that, but I grew up as Catholic myself, so I mean, I understand precisely where it comes from. And I will say that first of all, as a cultural anthropologist, I have to stand on a ground of cultural relativism, meaning there is no person whatsoever in this world that pretend to be the villain of the story.
Okay, fair.
You can even talk with the most evil, violent Nazi beast ever. They will always pretend they are the hero of their own plot.
Absolutely true.
And that goes also for mafia people. And so I must say that in the first place. Secondly, I must say that a lot of people will think, and I understand why they do, that the mafia can be understood or interpreted as a sort of anti-state, meaning it's a system of power alternative to the legal one, or to the same goes for morality, like it's an anti-moral place, which is true from a sensical, logical standpoint. However, I will say that I describe the mafia more, I don't want to get too theoretical here, but more as a political interconnector between different legal and moral organizations operating in our society. Meaning that the mafia, of course, is violent or kill people or whatever.
Sure.
However, in order to function, they interconnect other powers, including the church, in places where the church is particularly powerful.
Sure, yeah.
And therefore, in order to make this work, they have absorbed in their own system of values also the symbols or the beliefs of some of the other organizations they interconnect.
Interesting.
And in fact, if I just say something a little bit more theoretical here, there is a Sicilian intellectual, which is Leonardo Sciascia, who says that the mafia indeed is an institution which job is to interconnect between the state and the citizen, power and culture, labor and capital.
Interesting.
Meaning, I ask you money in order to get a job or to do stuff like that.
It sounds like a connective tissue. Yeah, weird. I wanted to touch back on something you were talking about earlier with the media and the video stuff you were doing for them. Could you tell us a little story about one of them? Can you give us an example of one of your projects that you did?
Well, I'll tell you, that's interesting. So actually, I can tell you about the little story. But it's not something spectacular, just something interesting. So one of the things that I'm exploring lately, especially here in Amsterdam, is not only how organized crime use, for example, the social media, the online social media, but how consent is gathered, is cultivated by the mafias through these investments in the social media. It can be somehow compared to the way how contemporary far-right populist leaders stimulate consent among their own followers through their strategic use of social media. So there are specific investment and modality of social media management. Now, in this context, I started to interview or even to spend time in Napoli with local social media influencers or even artists like hip-hop artists or people doing the type of music that were self-claimed far-right populist people. Because eventually these far-right leaders target online the very same people that the mafia target in a Napoli.
Sure.
And so I asked him to make a video together, and that's something I usually do when I make this ironic video with people. I'm like, why don't you please take one social issue, one political issue that is very dear to you, and you tell me some ideas of how you want to put that in a video, and then I will work on your ideas, and we build up the video forehand. And it was like, okay, that's a cool idea, blah, 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 blah. And he gave me all the sketch for a video. So the ideas he gave me were the most leftist idea I ever.
No, yeah.
He was like, I want to write a video when I'm talking that is the exploitation of labor of the Napolitan poor that creates the condition for us to be exploited by organized crime.
And came full circle, essentially, yeah.
Yeah. And so I started to wonder, and that's a question I'm still trying to answer. Like, are these people aware they're manipulated and then maybe they want to show themselves as manipulated people, because that is allowing them, for example, to be supported and become local celebrities.
Interesting.
And then maybe when they are at home or when they're talking with their anthropologist buddy, they're showing some true self and being like, let's talk about the serious dialysis, because So that's something interesting, maybe a little connected to my videos. But that's also the process I do. I usually ask people, okay, let's talk about something interesting together, and I want them to give me visual ideas, because I would like to reproduce through my comedical videos the very same aesthetics and very same indigenous way of visualizing social phenomena, and then that's part of it.
Okay. All right, let's check out one of those videos. We'll be right back in just a minute. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that wild and crazy video from Salvatore. Yeah, so before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to talk about in particular about how we as society could improve this kind of stuff, or keep young people out of this, or any of this? Like, what's your message? What's the point of what you do?
My message, that's a big deal question. It's $1 million question. But if I have to say only one wannabe smart thing about the mafias, I will say I will suggest the viewer to reflect on the fact that this type of violent phenomena are not external to our world, they're internal, and in fact that the mafia, not just the Italian mafia, but all sorts of mafia, is the ultimate realization of this very evil idea that is mainstream nowadays about market society without regulations. Like this Reagan Thatcherian idea of creating economy without laws, because the market self-regulates, supposedly, which it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the mafia is somebody who realized that dream.
Okay, sure.
And in this sense, especially if we look at how contemporary society work, and I won't preach too much about it, but I think the viewer is smart enough to know how society works nowadays, you will see that the mafia as a connector, but also as an enterprise, is structural to the functioning of our contemporary society. If tomorrow the Camorra will stop existing as snap because Thanos did it, Southern Italian economy will collapse, the macro mafia will not exist, the Dutch economy will collapse, and the like. So, in order to fight this phenomena, of course, dealing with local community is important, talking with the youth is important, very true. However, if we don't first create the socioeconomic conditions for people to have no need to rely on these violent shortcuts, then we may start talking solutions. There's always going to be a mafia as long as a mafia is needed by the political economy of the world in which we live.
I think that's a pretty solid message. Well, Salvatore, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for watching, you for me.
Yes.
Inviting me.
You can catch Salvatore Giusto around town.
Well, yeah, or on the world. I mean, I'm not planning to die any soon, so one way or the other, I'll see you around.
Yes. Look for his academic research online. Awesome. Thank you, Salvatore. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsor.
I time. Ah, fuck. I definitely did not just shit my pants, but I'm gonna need a second backstage, so sit right there and